The United States has entered Israel's war with Iran. Hours ago, American stealth bombers and submarines launching a massive coordinated attack, destroying 3 key nuclear sites. In a world address, US President Donald Trump called it a spectacular military success that will either mean peace or tragedy for Iran. In a stunning attack, B-2 warplanes dropped bunker-buster bombs on the Fordo nuclear site, while US submarines fired cruise missiles at nuclear sites at Isfahan and Natanz. We have reporters standing by in Canberra, Tel Aviv and Washington DC tonight. Miley Hogan begins our coverage from the White House.
Donald Trump, wartime president.
A short time ago, the US military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime,
ordering in stealth bombers and submarines to unleash deadly force.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
Military officials say 6 B-2 warplanes dropped up to 12 bunker-buster bombs on the Fordo nuclear site deep underground. At the same time, US Navy submarines fired 30 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, blowing up nuclear sites at Isfahan and Natanz. Natanz also hit with 2 bunker busters.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
These were the targets, Israel claiming the sites were being used by their sworn enemy to build a nuclear bomb.
History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons.
The White House releasing images of the president in the Situation Room where the attacks would have been watched in real time.
We're breaking now.
Across the US, news networks rushing to air.
News from the President of the United States.
On TV in Iran.
Iran now considers all US military bases in the region and American military personnel legitimate targets.
Yemen's Houthi military earlier today threatened to carry out more attacks like this in the Red Sea if the US attacked. This was Lebanon yesterday, locals supporting Iran, which finances Lebanese terror group Hezbollah. The president warning any retaliation by Iran against the United States will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
On the streets of America, mixed reaction.
I'm like, oh no, this is happening.
President Trump's doing what he has to do.
I'm just struggling. I don't know what to do.
In particular, God, I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them.
Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Now to correspondent Jacqueline Robson, who's on the ground in Tel Aviv, where Iran's responses had devastating effects. Jackie, ballistic missiles have struck there.
Well, Mike, soon after the US strikes, Iran fired back. This is a residential area of Tel Aviv where there is extensive building damage and more than 20 people have been injured. Glass windows have been shattered all around here, and at the direct impact site, the building has crumbled away. What were once homes is now just a pile of concrete. Residents are stressed and in shock, leaving with just suitcases and nowhere to go. Israel has now elevated its threat alert for citizens, with one woman telling me it feels like the end of the world. Just hours after the US strikes, Iran's response. Missiles streaking across the sky, dawn sirens sending people across Israel's biggest city for bunkers. Even in a safe place, it's loud. Right now, we're hearing the first retaliation from Iran. It is expected to be more forceful and powerful than we've seen over the past few days, and just by listening to it, you can certainly hear that that is the case. Israel couldn't fend off every single rocket. This, the devastation in a residential part of Tel Aviv.
A missile fire hit right inside of a building complex behind me. We've already transported around 5 injured, still treating here wounded around us.
Their homes destroyed, these people getting out.
I'm very afraid, yes. I'm shaking up. That's exactly what I am. It was horrifying, horrifying. It was, we were in the shelter, but We were pushed from one side of the shelter to the other, and my apartment is destroyed.
The northern port city of Haifa also hit. Some Israelis had already spent the night underground, waking to the news of America had joined their fight on Iran.
I want to thank President Trump because I think he had a very good decision, because this could be the end of the war.
From Palestinians in the West Bank,
we hope that the war will end, not only in Iran, Palestine and Gaza, but all over the world, so that everyone can live in peace and happiness.
For decades, Israel has fought a proxy war with Iran, surrounded by militant groups supported by Tehran. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. Since the October 7 attacks of 2023, all have been weakened. Hezbollah operatives hit by hundreds of exploding pagers and walkie-talkies. Israel fighting a ground war with Hamas inside Gaza with a huge humanitarian cost. On June 12, an emboldened Israel took the fight to Tehran, beginning its bombing campaigns over Iran. Tonight, they have continued, Israel resuming its attacks on Iran's firepower soon after the US strikes.
President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength.
Israelis now contemplating what comes next.
I feel like it's the end of the world. That's what I feel.
In Tel Aviv, Israel, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
Meanwhile, the Albanese government has released a statement again calling for de-escalation, dialogue and diplomacy. Missing, though, any mention of support for the US airstrikes. That's drawn fire from the opposition, quick to back our American allies.
To say his government is playing it low-key is an understatement. Anthony Albanese today chose not to comment on our superpower ally, the United States, striking at Iran's nuclear facilities. None of his ministers commented either. The government released quotes from an unnamed spokesperson noting the US president's statement that now is the time for peace, suggesting the security situation is highly volatile, and calling again for de-escalation, dialogue and diplomacy.
Look, I think they've been far too ambiguous. The United States is a close ally. The United States has a key role in re-establishing order and peace in the Middle East.
The opposition offering support for the US action.
This was a necessary action to take by the United States military. President Trump gave the offer of negotiations.
So it's changed the strategic equation for Australia.
Some in Australia worried the president may have flicked the spark for a wider war.
A lot of civilians would be killed, and the regime will resist to the very end, simply because that they don't have really much choice.
But from others, Trump has dealt with a potentially deadly threat, a nuclear Iran.
This is not a country that we should be trusting. So if they don't have a nuclear weapon, I'm happier.
And speaking out loudly to back a president he once dealt with leader to leader, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison tweeted 3 words, then repeated them in an interview with 7 News.
Peace through strength. This is what President Trump promised to bring to the presidency, and what we've seen today after exercising every other avenue to resolve this impasse with Iran. It should be supported with clarity and with certainty and with purpose, because they have taken the action that was necessary to protect our shared interests.
And National Security Editor Tim Lester is in Canberra tonight. And Tim, when might we hear from the Prime Minister?
Mike, we don't know with regard to the PM, but we do know that Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong is listed as a guest on tomorrow morning's Sunrise. That will be especially interesting given the government has had so little to say, in fact nothing to say about whether it supports or not the action taken by the United States. So her answer on that question in particular will be watched very closely. Also too, though, the government likely to talk about its concerns for the 2,600 or more people in Iran, Australians who've asked for help to get out, and another 1,200 in Israel. A lot of interest in what the government can tell us about how that effort is progressing.